Okay, into our final topic of our first episode, exciting times.
Woo.
We're going to talk about flex culture in gaming and why every gamer
Just
I
checking what I was
see.
wearing. It's a $40 shirt, by the way. No off-white on me today.
But seriously, like, why are all these gamers wearing off-white? Why are they wearing Valentino? Why are they decked out in like really branded Louis Vuitton like every event they go to? I don't know. I think it's something interesting to talk about.
Don't get out of the house much, man. You got to like put your best foot forward when you finally step into the outside world. I mean, I think it's I think I go very basic. I think there are other small factors at play, but for me, it's just like I think you got a bunch of 20-year-olds who have more money than they know what to do with, because that's what content creation is. It's a big, money spike and then an endless pit of despair when your career dies. But, that's why, but in the same way that which I guess also folds into flex culture, is that most young people, if they do get money, don't really deal with it in the right way. Or, also you can buy a nice shirt if you have disposable income. And I think ultimately it's just that it's reflective of people, when you're young and when you sit inside all day and you play video games, like what are you going to spend money on? You're not like really going on crazy holidays because you're a content creator. You can't go on holiday if you leave the office for a day. Your career, So I feel like I'm getting to the real like career exploding kind of topics. But it's like that's just an easy thing to kind of have as like a little bit of a treat yourself.
See, I disagree. I think it goes a little deeper than that.
Narcissism.
No, but I think it's really interesting because where I see at least part of it stemming from is, I think, back in the day when a lot of these massive content creators that have found huge success, back when they were in high school or junior school, whatever, gaming was not cool. Like, it wasn't considered the cool thing to do. I think it was considered like kind of a nerdy thing to do, kind of something that you wouldn't like outwardly tell all your friends that you were into. It wasn't cool. And I think it's kind of a pushback on this perception that like, oh, like you're a gamer, you know what I mean? And now a lot of these people have found incredible success, incredible followings, incredible income from this industry that now they can afford really expensive brands. They can afford to wear designer every day. They can afford to have cool cars and that sort of thing. And I actually think
fuck you to the society that turned them down.
I do think it's a little bit of a fuck you to the society. I think it's a little bit of a pushback, and it's a little bit of like a look at me now kind of thing where, it's like, yeah, I wasn't cool in high school, but look at what my nerdy hobby has now allowed me to do. And it's a really physical representation of the, I don't know if you want to call it status, but something like that this industry has now allowed them to have.
The old childhood trauma route is the one you're going with. Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's, I mean, speaking for me personally, it's not at all an FU to anyone if I do wear something nice. I think it's symptomatic of a few things. I think it's number one, you're kind of, when you're in the spotlight. So like there's always people looking at you, and because there are always people looking at you, I think there's more of a drive to appear, good, as opposed to just wearing whatever. But that also doesn't explain the number of people who just wear absolutely horrible things.
Yeah.
I think that it's interesting. I definitely know that at least like early on, obviously I don't really have that these days. I just kind of wear whatever. But I know that early on when I was like in that come up stage of, and I feel like this doesn't really answer the question, but I do remember going to events when I was in that like come up stage, and I was like at an event and I had like 300,000-400,000 subs, and there were these like 2, 5, 10 million subscriber channels there. And there is like a desire to impress. And I almost feel like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy or whatever. It's a bit of a cycle though, where, the up and comers see the big guys wearing the really nice stuff and they want to fit in with the groups, then they go and get it. And then, and then the next guys, they see them wearing the good stuff, and then it keeps on going in circles.
See, I think there actually is kind of a legitimizing element to it though. I think, a lot of people, when they start YouTube or they start gaming as a full-time career and that sort of thing, you know, people that aren't in that industry don't necessarily understand how big it is. They don't understand necessarily that it really can be a real job. And I think that wearing nice brands or having a cool car or having a big house or whatever is a way to, without saying it, be like, no, look, this is a real job because I can afford a $4,000 jacket.
Yeah. You know what else? This thought just came to me just when you were talking about the car and the house stuff, is that because YouTube is so, this is kind of taking a couple of steps back, but stay with me here. Because YouTube's so like analytic, data driven, right? It's about subscribers. It's about views. You can look at any other channel at any time and say that, you know, like
you can
factually,
estimate.
Sorry, not even estimating wealth, but I'm saying that like success.
Yeah.
You can, you know, if you're doing a management job and someone else is doing a management job and you're both in the same level, you can be like, we are both managers, like we're doing our job, that's it. But in YouTube, you can look at another YouTuber and you can be like, I am factually, mathematically better than you. I am getting more views. I have more subs. But I mean, like in terms of how you're going at your job, you know? And I think that no one really, I think, and it's not malicious. It's not at all malicious competition, but there is competition. And anyone, and I guarantee every other channel has somewhere they're looking at and they're like, man, like I'm annoyed that person's doing better than me right now. Like I want to beat them. I want to get bigger than them. And I think there's YouTube just in the sense that, you know, you can never say to an individual person, I'm competing for your views, because obviously the ecosystem's so big, but you are competing for views. Channels rise, another channel falls, because ultimately people only have so many hours in a day. They pick who they want to watch. Yeah. And I feel like it is almost that competition element in a way coming out. Like when you go to an event, everyone wants to be the best. They want to look the best. They want to, you know, be the coolest. They want to, you know, be like, oh, how'd you get here? I got here on my jet. Or like, you know, how'd you get here? Oh, Uber Black. Oh, Uber Black. Yeah. Like my driver took me. You know, it's like, it's kind of an extension, I feel like sometimes of that. And this could be way too much reading into it. But I think it's an interesting conclusion to draw, and probably the only one I can say that I don't think it's the full driving factor, like the full cause, but I think it could be a factor. Yeah. It's that competition that comes from being a YouTuber, competing with other channels, seeing their views, wanting to do better, wanting to be the best. And I think that leads to then wanting to like have that flex when you see people in public. Like for me personally, if there is one time where I actually want to make sure I'm like dressed nicely, it's when I am at a YouTuber event. So it's actually not so much about giving an FU to society. I actually I'll walk around the shops in track pants and like a shirt that I haven't washed in 3 days. Like I don't, you know, yeah, I know, right? But you'll never see me do that if I'm at a YouTube event. Yeah. Because that's where I'm like, where you're like, okay, this is like,
that's interesting.
Everyone's well dressed there.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because I do think that it's not impossible, but I really think that to be a very successful creator, there is an element of narcissism that is somewhat necessary.
Or at least competition.
Right. And I think you need to be able to look at yourself and be like, I'm capable of being the best. I'm capable of having a lot of people want to be invested in what I'm doing and interested in the content that I'm creating or the way that I am or how I look, that sort of thing. And so I think that does play into it a little bit. But I don't know. I also really, really think that I see sometimes in people around me that there are people that have been bullied when they were in high school, or there are people that got a really tough time when they first started doing YouTube. And being able to wear nice clothes, being able to have nice things is an element of being able to say, I made it. You know?
The thing is, I think that's absolutely, that would be a factor for me, but I need to it would need to be this specific person, you know, like you guarantee if I go back to a school reunion and I see, you know, like Sean Koo or one of the people who was like a dick to me when I was in boarding school. Like
Sean Koo.
He's got a billionaire dad. He's going to be flexing anyway. It doesn't even matter. But you know, like I think that, yeah, there is that element of wanting to be like, yeah, like, you know, you did do okay. And I think that
but when people are like, when you tell some people that you do YouTube as a full-time job, or you do gaming as as a full-time job, is there not some element of you that wants people to know that, not only can you support yourself, but you can actually do really well?
Oh, yeah. But like, and it's always like, I think the funniest thing is, also like if it's like an Uber driver, you're having a conversation with like, what do you do? And you decide to not make up the lie about being a tax accountant so that they go away. But yeah, like 100%. Like sometimes they'll be like, what do you do? It's like, oh, I like make videos on games. And they'd be like, oh, and can you like, can you almost do that full time? Like, does that make like,
make
enough to
that?
live? Like, does it make minimum wage? And you're like, yeah, it does all right. You do okay from it. Like you got Ryan toy reviews out here, 8-year-old, 100 millionaire.
God.
But
pre-copper.
Yeah, pre-copper, not anymore. But 100%. It's super. That was good. That topic ended up being much deeper and also more introspective. I feel like I learned something about myself there. I didn't realize the deep trauma